So it seems the house has been invaded by skeletons. What you gonna do? Anyway, yep, we're at home. We're not out playing at the track, which we've been doing a lot lately. Been good times. As you can see, the car's still on the trailer, ready to go for when we're ready to go back. Oh, turn the fan down. Okay, we're back working on this pile, and we're closer to having steering. Last time the goal was to be able to turn the wheel in the car and have the wheels outside the car turn. We didn't quite get there. There ended up being more work on the firewall that needed to be done before we could get to that point, but I'm getting close. So where we're at is this patch panel's mostly complete. There's a few little touch-ups to be done. Same with that one that was good, needs to go in there. And the bracket is mounted temporarily anyways with 2 bolts. I got to do some more metal work down here so I can have 4 bolts in there to support the bracket properly. But the steering column it's in there. So that's good. We're close on that bit. The next bit is going to be doing the shaft that connects point A to point B. And as you can see, the shaft that I have is much too long, and we're gonna fix that, and I'm gonna show you exactly what my method is for measuring it, so when I screw it up, you don't do it the way I do it, and if it happens to work, it might give you an idea on how you can do it. All right, the way this deal works is out on the steering shaft, you have what's called a double D. Basically what that means is it's gonna have 2 flat sides. This is a 3/4 inch diameter rod, 2 flat sides, and then this heim joint or coupler joint or U-joint, whatever you want to call this coupler deal. They have a special name. Can't remember what it is. Anyway, this guy is going to slide up on there like that. And then down here at the steering gearbox, we have the same thing. This one has a splined output shaft and a splined side on the coupler, and then a double D, 3/4 double D on one side for this rod, which is the same shape, 3/4 inch double D. So when you go to put the coupler onto the shaft and you're trying to figure out, well, obviously there's a lot of room for that to move. When you're setting this up, you can see there's a groove right there in that shaft. That's where the set screw is gonna go. So when we're taking our measurements, we actually wanna tighten this guy down so that it's in its groove where it's gonna go. Right? Because that's our finished dimension is what we're looking for. We will be able to, when we're putting the shaft in, keep that loose and slide it back further. That's going to give us the extra space needed to fit the shaft between the 2 points. And then same thing up here at the top, except at the top, there's no groove. It's just the flat sides. But when you put this all the way in, you can see that the shaft sticks through the coupler by almost a 1/4 inch. So in our finished position, we want it basically flushed out where it just barely flat inside there and it's not sticking out into the gap. That's our finished position. So right here, we'll tighten that set screw up so it can't move. So, and we're just gonna eyeball it here, but you take the tape measure and basically from this point right here in the coupler where it's flat, that's the length that we want to make our new shaft. So we'll measure from there down to there, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just close. So, and then you take that close measurement and you transfer it over to your bar right here. In my case, I'd already measured it out off camera. It was 20 1/8. That's what that black line right there, if you can see it, that's what that is. So now we got to go cut this guy down and we can sandwich it between those 2 couplers, and hopefully we'll have steering on this pig. Nice square cut, I think. Square-ish, square enough. Now, with that bad boy all cut down to the right length, hopefully. We haven't checked yet. But the next thing I'm going to show you is another problem that I already discovered with this shaft. Now, in theory, this shaft, being a 3/4 double D shaft, should fit right into our couplers like such. Well, that's not the case. If you actually take a close look to this, you can see there's a little bit of shiny here that's not down here. That's because I already worked on one end a little bit. And because this here shaft, even though I rolled those corners over, does not fit into our couplers. So doing the wrong thing the wrong way, I'm going to take my good old flat disc. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to shape the end of this until my coupler actually fits. And I did already check. The coupler fits just fine. It's the right measurements. The shaft is what's actually wrong. So, you know, you get what you get. And, well, what we got is a shaft that don't fit the coupler. So we're going to get that fixed. All right, after a little persuasion with the grinder, that now fits on that end, and the other one fits on both ends. So we'll take them nice and tight so they're all the way in like they are, and we'll see if we can actually get this guy to install on the car. Set screw's in the way. Yeah, that makes a difference. You have a set screw threaded in already, it'll stop it from going on. Okay, we're going to try this again. Maybe. All right. And hopefully we didn't cut this too short. That would be annoying, wouldn't it? Okay. Yeah, I probably should have left just a little more on it. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Actually, I think it came out just right. Let me snug these up and I'll show you where it fits. And we can always adjust the steering column down just a little bit, which I may end up doing just to get it into this clamp a little better. Go. Go. Alright, and one more set screw and that'll be good for now. Oh, that looks like we got steering. So here's a closer look. If we look down right in that opening, you can see that the steering column is basically flush with the inside face of the coupler, which means that's pretty much fully engaged. It has a slight bit of adjustment, but there's room to do it. And then come around this side, and if you look right down in there, you can see that the shaft is also flush in the coupler, which means it's fully engaged. And down here at the steering box, that screw is in the groove that's on the spline shaft, so that side's where it's going to live. And I got to get out of the way. And we can look down in here, maybe. Still in the way. There we go. And you can look right there. We have that side fully engaged. So the 20 1/8 inch, look right there, 20 1/8, that I cut that to is basically perfect for where that's set. Like I was saying, I probably will end up adjusting the steering column out just a little bit further so that it needs about an 1/8 inch more to be fully engaged with this clamp. And there's enough room in my setup here to actually pinch that all down just an 1/8 to 1/4 and get that all tightened up so that we have 100% engagement on that clamp. But the next thing to do is throw the steering wheel on it and see if we can turn the wheels. I guess we should make sure that there's nothing important in the way, you know, like the whip for the welder, because the wheels are up on the car jacky dollies, which means they are going to actually turn nice and easy because they're jacked up. So we'll make sure that we don't screw up anything important cranking the wheel around. Okay, steering wheel. Steering column, that's fully mounted, braced right there. She's good and sturdy. I can move the whole car. Now, the real question, if I crank this, oh buddy. Yep. Look at that, we have steering. Can't seem to show both at the same time. We'll have to work on our centering because that's a full left lock on the steering box. And it definitely should turn left more than that. But we'll go ahead and crank it to the right and see how far to the right it goes. Okay. Oh yeah, we're definitely not centered on the steering gearbox because she cranks way over to the right. But now that the steering wheel is officially connected to the steering gearbox and we can turn that wheel and move where the wheels are at, we can work on finding where center of the gearbox is and get that all centered back up and start looking at our steering geometry, figuring out exactly how that's all got to work and making sure that we got equal throw in both directions. The steering column arrangement, it clears everything. It's nice and tight to the frame. I don't know if you noticed how nice and clean and tight to the frame that's going to be, which will be it'll be just right because we're going to have fender well headers that are going to come up from like right here and shoot through that gap. So yeah, I think that's a win. I fiddled around with the steering a little bit to see if I could figure out why I was getting more throw to the left or to the right than I was to the left. And basically that's going to boil down to a problem that'll have to be solved on another video because I'm going to have to think about that one for a little bit. What's happening is the pitman arm off the steering gearbox is hitting the leaf spring, which is actually stopping the throw to the right hand or to the left hand side. So I don't know. What that'll probably mean is shimming the gearbox off the frame a little bit further. We'll have to see how far out it would have to be shimmed in order for that to clear all the way. It could mean a pitman arm that's got a little bit less drop or maybe a little more drop. I don't know yet. I'll have to see what's out there. Whatever the case, the good news is we have steering from the passenger compartment out to the wheels, and it's actually light enough that when it's up on the rollers, I can turn it by hand right here at the gearbox, which is great. Everything feels pretty tight at the steering wheel. There's no weird slop there, with the exception of every bolt in the steering linkage is all just hand tight. Nothing's actually tightened up. So there is a little bit of play that'll go away, but even with that, it's all still pretty tight. I'm going to be moving on to finishing up the firewall work and doing a little bit more work right there where the steering column comes through the firewall, and a little more metal work so we can get those other 2 bolts in there like I was talking about. Otherwise, that's all that's going to do it. This video's done. We've got steering. It's been successful, and we'll see you guys on the next one.